Hi everybody, it's Kate from Valere. Welcome back to version 2 of your at-home strength program, specifically designed for runners. Of course, this is perfect for triathletes as well. I'm a physiotherapist, sports scientist and researcher, and I've done my PhD looking at the effects of strength training and endurance exercise. I love putting these programs together to help you perform at your best and decrease your injury occurrence. Each of these versions is going to have a slightly different emphasis, and this one in particular is going to work on core strengthening and specifically through your adductors. So it's perfect if you're looking to improve hip stability and of course improve your overall run performance. So let's get stuck into it. Now, exercise number 1 is a really nice mobility exercise. It helps open up through your hips as well as opening up a lot through your thoracic area. So for this one, you just need a little bit of space. So with this one, elbow down to the ground, opening up nice and strong. As you open up, you'll feel really nice opening through your thoracic area. Come down, pop your elbow down, open up. You should also feel with this one, as you come down, you'll see that I come into a slight lunge on this leg. What that's going to do is really help you lengthen and work through your adductors, so the muscles on the inside of your legs as you come down. And if you're lacking a little bit of ankle mobility, this is also a really nice one to help work on that. As you come down into this lunge, you want to aim to keep your heel on the ground, so you're feeling a nice bit of a stretch through your calf and your Achilles, as well as feeling a stretch through your adductors on this side, and you might also feel a really nice stretch through your hip flexors on this side because your hip is really nice and open. So with those ones, we're going to aim for 3 sets, 10 repetitions on each side, and it's more of a mobility based one, so you don't have to feel like you're working really hard with that one. So you should still feel like you could aim for another 3, 4, or maybe even a few more repetitions in reserve. So they're a really nice one. You can do those more often throughout the week if you want to. So you could do them daily, especially if you have an office job and you feel like you want a nice movement to get everything warmed up in your lower limbs and open up through that upper chest area. So 3 sets, 10 repetitions on each side. Aim to leave yourself with 30 to 60 seconds of rest in between. There aren't any progressions for those ones in particular that we're going to go through today. All that you're going to aim to do is each set of those, you just want to really work on improving that mobility through that range. So I'm going to go on to exercise number 2. I'm going to quickly grab a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Now, if you're at home and you don't have a kettlebell or dumbbell, that is completely fine. You can do this unweighted, or you can get imaginative with what you find around the house. So this next one that we're going to do is exercise number 2, is a lateral lunge. We're going to stand with our feet fairly nice and wide apart. And with these ones, you're going to hold onto your kettlebell. You're going to come down into a lunge on one side, up into the middle. Lunge on one side, up into the middle. Lunge down. With this one, we're working on some really nice hip mobility, as well as stretching out through those adductors and loading through those adductors as well. With these ones, just like with your first exercise, each set, you just want to aim to increase your range. Of course, this will depend on if you have any form of hip injury, if you've got a hip labral tear or femoral acetabular impingement. You might not necessarily want to go down too deep I do have a history of a hip labral tear, which is why I'm not going down too deep with these, but you still get some really nice benefits. The other thing you can do, hold that kettlebell further away, and you're going to get a lot more core strength. With these ones, you're going to aim for 8 repetitions on each side, 3 sets, give yourself 60 seconds of rest in between each of those sets, and you ideally want to go to load that leaves you with another 4 repetitions in reserve. So they are your lateral lunges, your progression. You can move that weight away to get a little bit more core, or of course you can go deeper through that range if your hips allow it. Right, up this down. It is really hot today. Again, that's why I have my sunnies on, but it is very, very hot. So I apologize again for the sweating. It's a little bit of a theme of these ones that I'm filming outside. Now, exercise number 3 that we're going to do for your activations, we're going to do a banded standing hip flexion. You just want a short band. Of course, there are different resistances that you can get through your bands. But with this one, you want to get your short band. We're going to pop it around your feet. Now, with this one, we're going to stand feet approximately a little bit narrower than our hips and our shoulders in this nice standing position. Now, we do want to replicate running, so we are going to use our arms with this one. I used to always get a little bit, it takes me a few goes to get into the mojo. Sometimes I'd get the wrong hand up. Try not to do that. Okay, so with these ones, we're going to, on our standing leg, knee slightly bent, hip slightly bent, because we want to replicate that single leg stance phase of our running. We really want to work our stabilizing glutes on this leg, as well as the hip flexors and the tip and this leg. And I'll explain that to you, how we're going to do that in a second, okay? So with this one, nice standing, bent knee position, strong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Couple of things that you want to think about with that one. Your toes pointing up towards the sky. That's going to work on the tip and at the front of our shin, and that's really important to work on, especially when it comes to that run performance. We want to aim for a really powerful drive up. So the point of doing this one is to work not only on the stability of that standing leg, but lots of rate of force development, so how quickly we can push off with this leg through here. So that's why we're going fast up. As soon as your toes hit the ground, boom, fast up again, boom, fast up again, okay? Toes up, powerful, fast movement. With this one, we're going to aim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. Hopefully your knees tracking nice and straight on the other side, and those toes are staying up. So they are your 3 activation exercises. Again, your progressions to do with this one is you're just going to get a thicker band, and you're just going to work on improving how fast you can create that movement, keeping those toes pointing up. So you can restart through those ones, go through those 3 again, or you can just pause the video here and you can go through those, do your 3 rounds, okay? With your standing banded hip flexions, you're aiming for 10 repetitions on each side. You want a band that's going to leave you feeling like you have 2 reps in reserve that you could do on each side. If it's too easy, get a thicker band. We're going to go on to our main set. Now, really quickly before I jump into our main set, we love making these videos for you. We love helping improve your run performance, helping you stay injury proof. In return, we would love a little bit of support. If you could give us a like, a subscribe, or a comment, hopefully a positive one, that would be great. Alternatively, you can give our Lateral strength training app a try. These are all programs that we specifically designed for endurance athletes. We've got injury prevention and performance-based ones. There's a free 2-week trial, so we'd love you to jump on board and support us in that way too. Okay, main set exercises. Now, hold. This main set exercise number 1, this is our real adductor and core focus. I'm going to move the bench in. This first exercise, we're going to do a modified version of a Copenhagen. Copenhagens are fantastic for improving that adductor strength, as well as hip abductor strength and lots of core. I'm going to show you the first one, which is a slightly easier version, then I'll progress it, and then I'll show you another progression. So the easiest version of this that we can do, we're going to, like I said, we're setting up our bench. Then what we want to do is put our knee on the bench. So we're going to knee up on here. This bottom leg comes up. We're coming up into a side plank position. It can take a little bit of fiddling around to make sure that you get this right, But with our bottom leg, we are going to come into hip flexion, extension, flexion, extension. We're going to aim for 12 repetitions. The key with this, don't rush the bottom leg. Obviously, the more you rush that bottom leg, the faster the time will go. But we really want to challenge ourselves. Keep your bottom hip up. 9, 10, 11, 12, and down. So with these ones, like I said, we'll work a lot on your adductors. That's going to be the top leg that is up on the bench. Your bottom leg, you're also working on your hip abductors through here, but by adding in that hip flexion and extension, we're also targeting those. Now, really interestingly, our adductors do have muscle fibers that actually come a little bit forwards and backwards, and they actually do play a role in hip flexion and extension as well. So people who generally think of adductors just as bringing the leg across the midline, but that's not the only thing that they do. For example, when we're in that deep squat position, or if you're thinking about when your hip is more bent when you're running, they play a really important role in hip extension. So these are going to be really good for that performance side of it. And strengthening out our adductors also really helps decrease the risk of hamstring injuries as well, because they play that very similar role to the hamstrings. So really important muscle group that I find out people often forget about. Now I'm going to swap sides to balance myself out. Obviously, if you were going to do that one, you were going to aim for 3 sets, 12 repetitions on each side. Give yourself 90 seconds of rest in between each of those sets. Trust me, you really want that. If you found that a little bit easier, so what I mean by that is if you feel like you could have done 4 or more repetitions, so you have 4 more reps in reserve, you're going to do this version where we are going to add on the band. So with these ones, the band is going to come up and over your knees. With this one now, we're going to keep this progression. I have one more, okay, but we're going to keep this progression the same with your knee up on the bench. So bringing that knee up into that nice side plank position. Extend tension in the band, flex. 1, 2, 3. You know it's hard when I'm not talking. 10, 11, 12. Now hopefully what you would have noticed with those is they kept the tempo of that movement the same throughout all 12 of those repetitions. So if they felt more challenging and you feel like you only had 3 reps in reserve, that's perfect for you with the knee on the bench and the band. Then I'm going to show you one more progression. Now with these ones, because we're not aiming for the range of the bottom leg, we're more just aiming to get that hip flexion, hip extension, hip flexion, hip extension. You do want quite a high resistance band there because, like I said, you're not going to aim for full range. You just want to get those muscle groups on the bottom leg firing. So you do aim to have a fairly high resistance on the band. And instead of necessarily changing the resistance of the band, we're going to aim to lengthen up that top lever arm. So what I mean by that is going in a further out position of the top leg. Woo! So with these ones, make sure you give yourself that 90 seconds of rest, moving my mat out a little bit, keeping that band around here, and you can either go mid shin or foot, okay, whatever obviously depends on your strength. We're going to come up into that side plank position, making sure that that elbow is underneath your shoulder. Flex, extend. 1, 2. Wow. Back to the middle. Okay. So that is how you make it harder. I'm sure you would have seen that I was shaking a little bit more in those ones compared to with just my knee on there. So you can play around with that position and see what feels good for you. Obviously another progression of that is just having your foot on there, but be aware that can make you quite sore. So if you haven't done these before, even if they feel okay, I would recommend that you start off with your knee or your mid shin on the bench. Do your 3 sets, your 12 repetitions, your 90 seconds of rest. Make sure the next day you pull up okay. Sometimes you feel alright during the workout, but it's the next day it's going to get you. So just be aware of that. If you pull up okay, you don't have excessive DOMs or any DOMs really, that's what we're aiming for, then you can progress to go more of your foot out. So there are your Copenhagens with the hip flexion and hip extension. Let's go on to our next main set exercise. Move this out of the way. I'm just going to move my bench out of the way. I'm overestimating my abilities maybe of this next exercise by having to move my bench out that far. Okay, for this next one, now you might not have this box at home, but the reason I picked the box over the bench is ideally you want to take off from something stable. So you can use a chair, you could use the top of a dining table if the people in your household don't mind, maybe give it a wipe after. But whatever it is that you can find at home is completely fine. This next exercise focuses on lower limb stability, so particularly single limb stability that replicates that standing phase of running. And it does also work a lot on power and explosiveness, so this is really going to help your running economy and help you minimize injury risk as well. It's also really good for bone loading. So with this one, again, I'm going to show you 2 progressions. You will do 3 sets at home, but you can pick of these progressions which one is the most suitable for you. So we're going to start off, first one is the easiest one. So you're going to pick a height that is fairly high. Of course, you can pop some weight plates, you can stack this up as you want to if you need to bring it even higher. But I'm going to start with this weight. You're going to sit on the edge of your box. Now you can do this with or without your hands or the use of your arms. I like doing this with my arms because when we run, we use our arms for momentum, and it is a really important thing that powers us forward. So I always think when I do strength training, we need to replicate what we do in running so we can use them. If you purely want to work on lower limb strength, you can put your hands on your hips, but keep in mind that does make it really hard. So you will want to make the height a bit higher to start off with. But like I said, I'm going to use my arms. With this one, your foot comes nice and in front of that hip, and we're going to do single leg. We're going to hinge our hips forward, so we're going to take off, we're going to do a powerful up. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to do our 5 repetitions, and I'm going to take you through a couple little cues that we're going to work on. We're going to lean nice and forward from our hips, jump, landing. That landing was not quite as good. Ideally, what I really want you to focus on with that landing, and I can rotate the spots around the way as well and show you one rep, is we want to work on planting the landing. And what I mean by that is you want to land 1, 2, 3 second hold, and during that hold you don't want this knee to fall in towards the midline. So if you can do this looking down at yourself or having a look in the mirror, it will be really good. So landing, yes, got it. I want to show you one rep front on as well. Pressure's on now for me. I better make this a really good one, otherwise you could critique me. So for this one, perfect. Okay, so hopefully what you would have seen, nice single leg landing, knee not falling in, holding that stability. Now if you do want to progress, if you want to keep the height of your box the same, but you do want to progress the difficulty, so let's say maybe you're lacking in hip extension power, but you really want to work on that, you can't go deeper, what you can do is go deeper in your squat on your landing. So you can come forwards, squat, up. You'd have seen that was a lot harder for me, but that's a really nice progression as well. So you're going to aim for 5 repetitions on each leg. This is not so much about reps and reserve because we're not going really heavy with the weight. You just really want to focus on the quality of the movement, the distance, how far you can jump, and the quality of that landing. Now, we're going to make it harder. I'm going to turn the box. So, actually, I'll leave it front on for the first couple of reps, and we'll go back to side on. Make it harder, bringing the box down. I have progressed this so far before where I've gone and sat down and thought to myself, how do we get back up? So, you do really want to focus on making sure that height is is suitable for you. Now, you will notice straight away I'm down deeper, which means more hip extension. That's really important in that powerful push off phase of running. We want to work on the speed of that powerfulness and the explosiveness of that. So let's give this just a shot. I'm going to go a couple front on, a couple side on. Could be improved, but not bad. 1. We're going to aim for our 5 reps. 2. I'm going to go side on. So you can see the difference compared to my first set. Notice how much deeper I am, how much more flex my hip is to start with. 3. 4. I'll go a little bit deeper in my squat to stick the landing. Wow, it's the last rep I didn't nail, but that's okay. So again, with those ones, we're focusing on the quality of the movement. So you're going to aim for 3 sets of 5 repetitions on each side. Again, try not to worry too much about the reps in reserve. But what you do want to do with those ones is give yourself 90 seconds of rest in between reps. If you rush that and if you go too fast through, you're going to lose your biomechanical focus of what we're aiming for that one. And you really, really want to focus on the quality of that movement. So don't rush it. So that takes us through version 2 of our home strength training workouts. So a quick little recap. With our activations, we've got our kneeling mobility. We're working on adductor flexibility, hip flexibility, and some thoracic mobility through there. We've got our banded standing hip flexions, aiming on rate of force development through the hip flexors, lots of glute stability. We've also got our lateral lunges, so we're working on that adductor strength and that hip stability. Our mainstay exercises, we have our Copenhagens with our hip flexion, hip extension, working on core strength and obviously adductor and glute strength through those. And our seated hop and holds, a great exercise choice for working on power and explosiveness through the calves and the hips, as well as getting some bone loading and working on that performance. If you found this helpful, you can have more workouts like these on demand on the Valero app. We also have PDFs if you just want to pay once and have access to that forever. That's downloadable and that's yours forever. Also, please give us a like and subscribe. You can check out more information. We've got the link in the description. Jump online, and we look forward to helping you in your training this year.